I tell them, look, real estate's a team sport. We can't do this without one another. I can't do this without you. You can't do this without me. And everything is figure outable. Everything is. So there's nothing that we can't get past. And a lot of times when we're working with our clients, it's, look, when my hair's on fire, that's when you can panic. Other than that, there's no panicking.
Right.
Good morning, and I have to say I'm very excited. We have Daniel Berger from RE/MAX in White Plains, New York. So we get to learn all kinds of real estate stuff, New York related, today. And I want to say, Daniel, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here, and make yourself at home.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Daniel has been with RE/MAX and has his MBA from Hofstra University. He's got 30 years in sales and marketing, 10 years in real estate. You bring a very client-first, insight-driven approach to the industry. You also host Adventures in Real Estate, and you also are the author of Adventures in Real Estate and Other Stories that's on Amazon. So take a look for that. Daniel, what originally brought you into real estate after being in sales and marketing?
That's a great question. I give all the credit to my wife. My wife gets a lot of credit for the story. I was in sales and marketing, mostly in the beverage world, bottled water and coffee. I was the little K-Cup Keurig machine. I was the original sales manager for the K-Cup. And then after 20 something years in beverage, it was like, what am I going to do? I actually went into the solar business for a little bit. I was the regional manager for home solar, and the company went bankrupt. So I'm like, I'm 47 years old, and what am I going to do with my life? And my wife's like, you should become a real estate agent. You'd be really good at it. And I didn't really know. In a lot of places, it's more female focused, and it was just nothing. I didn't really know anyone that was directly a real estate. I knew who people were, but not what they actually did. And my wife's like, you should give it a try. And it's, you know what? It's always a good idea to listen to your wife. And I did. And I've been in it now for about 10 years. And I definitely credit my wife for what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And so far, so good.
So it's always awesome that you do listen to your wife. Yes, my husband actually traveled for work. He actually was a traveling salesman for a jewelry company. And so did you have to travel? Were you traveling with the beverage, or were you local?
The 12 years with Green Mountain, I traveled a lot, actually. That job was hugely traveling because I was going around the country introducing people with teams on the K-Cup. And everyone's, oh, it's a fad, it's not going to work and whatever. And we're still here many years, decades later, and it's still there.
And now it's in everybody's house.
Exactly. So I did travel a fair amount, and then in some other positions I did travel. So it was certainly, I live north of New York City. A lot of people that I know commute. My wife commutes into the city. I've never had to do that. So that's what I love about real estate, is that I am home for the most part. But it was funny because I looked at a job at one point working for a senior living place years ago. And I had to work one day on the weekend. And I was like, ooh, how could I was like, there's no way that was actually the issue why I didn't take the job. But also, it's also about where you are in your life's journey. I was a coach of my children's sports. And so you would usually practice on one of the days, you would have the game on the other day. So I'd have to figure that all out. And now we're in real estate where all we do is work every single day. And the weekends, it's funny because maybe my wife wanted me to do real estate because she wanted to be alone at her tennis club on the weekends, because they're always like, oh, can you play? And I'm like, I can't play on the weekends. The weekends are open houses and more showings than the rest and putting in offers. And so that was a joke that I didn't take a job once because I had to work one of the days, and now I have to work whatever. And so for me, it was the fit for real estate made a lot of sense pivoting at 47 because it because being an old person with gray hair or whatever probably and also I owned a house and I was more worldly in the sense that it wasn't like just fresh out of college and trying to help people buy $1 million houses might be hard. Certainly it's doable, but it's certainly more hard because I had to connect. A lot of real estate is really just connecting people. And so I had a good portfolio of people, or a Rolodex, let's go old school, a Rolodex of who to call and bringing in quality experts. And I knew in the construction world, in the legal world. And so it made me, I was ready for it. And also, what was good is because it's still new to me, it was very exciting, right? So every day I wake up, I'm so excited and refreshed, and I don't mind. I tell people they can contact me 24/7 and I'm going to answer them 18/7. And so I had to invent myself at 37. Why would somebody work with me in real estate? And there are people who've been doing it for 20 years, 30 years. So it was like, I figured I just wanted to be the best me that I can be. My secret sauce has been availability and making myself available. My clients absolutely know they can call, they can text, they can email me 24/7. I'm going to respond. I'm going to respond. If I don't respond within a half an hour, 45 minutes, people think something's wrong, like something happened because I'm so used to that. And I built my business on referrals. And so I knew that if I could do a good job after a transaction, and when I send someone a link to refer to as a recommendation, that they would be able to write nice things. And I've been able to leverage those nice things that people say about me into finding new customers, into there's a company called Rate My Agent that all they do is they analyze people's performance, not on the size of your transactions, but what people write about you after the transaction, because someone that buys an apartment for 200,000, their words are no different than someone that you sold their $4 million house. And I've actually leveraged that. I think I've won New York State 4 out of the last 5 years, and I've won my county 5 years in a row. That to me, I might not be the best and the biggest, and I don't need to be that. I just want to be, I want to be really good. And I want to make sure that I want to be the best Danny Berger that I can be. And so that's how I started in the business and made a little bit of a name for myself. And again, a lot of what we do is collaborative, right? For the most part, there's there's agents on both sides. And how do you treat people? How do you treat your clients? But how do you treat the other people in the transactions is all part of it. And I'm not a wallflower. So when people either do things that aren't good to me or my clients, I make it known. And I'll say that. And whether they're a lawyer, I love when people are like, you emailed my lawyer, like the other side. And I'm like, okay, they're part of the transaction. A lot of people are like, lawyers only talk to lawyers. A real estate agent can't talk to lawyers. And I'm like, my wife's a lawyer. My daughter's a lawyer. I talk to lawyers all the time. I think a lot of it is just being true to yourself and just working hard, I think is a way that has made me successful.
I talk to agents every day, and that's one of the things, and the whole purpose of my podcast is that I want the customer to know, because there's so many podcasts about coaching real estate agents and everything else. So I try really hard to make sure that the clients know that this is client centered. What can you learn? How do you make your transaction the best that it can be? And I do the exact same thing every single day when we're calling and talking to other agents, talking to attorneys, talking to insurance folks. I call everybody and let them know as soon as we step out into that conversation, and I tell them, look, real estate's a team sport. We can't do this without one another. I can't do this without you. You can't do this without me. And everything is figure outable. Everything is. So there's nothing that we can't get past. And a lot of times when we're working with our clients, it's, look, when my hair's on fire, that's when you can panic. Other than that, there's no panicking. Right. Because panic doesn't help. It doesn't serve anybody. But I completely understand. One of the things about being in sales before How does that translate when you're working into, because you sold K cups, and it is all relationship based, but is that what you brought into your real estate career?
So K cups was one, bottled water was the other. So I sold bottled water when people were like, why would I pay for that? It's free. So it's interesting. I definitely think you learn. So you brought one thing up about coaching. You don't want your podcast to be about. I'm like an anti-coach. I'm very unorthodox. I couldn't imagine having a coach and paying someone $1,000 a month or whatever, and for me. So and I certainly rate everyone's different, but I wouldn't pay to have a coaching session. I wouldn't like the coaches like to have retreats where you go and you get people together and you do more. And I understand it's education and all that. And I don't know. I don't subscribe to that because it's just how you treat people. And so I did learn about, I do think the golden rule, how would you want to be treated? And I know the golden rule is do unto others as you would want them to do unto you, but I try to do better than that. I try to do maybe the platinum rule or something like that, where but in the end of the day, it's my name and it's me that people are going to talk about after the transaction. So I want to under promise, over deliver. It's proactive in thinking the things that they don't know that they need yet, but because you do this, what are some of the things I don't think we're actually selling. So it's interesting because selling a K cup or bottled water, again, it's you have a need for water or coffee, and this is a way that you can get it, as opposed to pushing someone who doesn't like coffee, say you should start drinking coffee. That's really more selling. And so in our case in the real estate world, is generally people have already decided that they want to buy, sell, or rent before they come to us. And not always, right? Because I did have a client that I've rented his house a couple times, called me the other day, and it's his mother's passed and he's in charge of the house for he and his sister, but they've been renting it. And so we had the conversation was, do we rent again? Do we sell it? And as in the real estate world, there's a connection to both of them to the house with their mother. So selling the house breaks that tie with their mother. The money that they'll get isn't going to have the connection, but walking into the house, and it's a house that they grew up at, means something to them. So and I understood that. And so my conversation is, we started with math and we talked about like, how much is this rental really bringing in? What's the ROI on that? What could you do with the money? Do you need the money? Does your sister need the money? Are you okay with the headaches of roofs might need to be done and you have tenants and they might pay? And the market's kind of hot right now, so they could get more. And so talking about what he and his sister could do with the money. But in the end of the day, I said, in the end of the day, they didn't need the money. It's more like down the road. So it's really like, it's up to you and that connection with your mom. I can't, that's not for me to tell you. It might not be the greatest money maker, but it might be something that you like and you like to have, that you have the house you grew up or that you get to do stuff. So all I can do is bring information to them and let them decide. And it's not selling. And even like houses, I know that if I'm with somebody, I'm currently with my veterinarian. I've been to their wedding, so it's my doctor's daughter, and I know them. They're in my town. I probably at 60 houses that I've shown with them. We show a couple every weekend. We almost bought one. And it was interesting. We keep going back to the one that they should have had, but I didn't push them into it because it was a little too soon in our journey. And I don't want them ever to think that, oh, they did that. Even if I think it's the best one for them, they have to come to that realization. So they have now, after they've seen all these other houses, but they're not in a rush either. I'm not in a rush. And so it's the journey. I want people to know I never push people. And I know that from other podcasts, it's not selling, it's helping with the transaction. And if a transaction needs to be terminated because things pop up that we didn't know about that would be detrimental to my client, then I'm going to be the first to cancel it and fix things, because you can't have the fear. I think to be a really good real estate agent, you can't have the fear that you need the money. It's a problem, right? Because I think it's chum in the water with the shark, right? They smell that. And you have to be like, I just help people get to the closing table and when it's the right time for them. And I feel that by doing that, I don't want to, if you were just worried about a transaction, then maybe you would push people. But if you're trying to do this for a long-term business, that you do things like that and you treat them like I treat them like if it was my daughter or my son buying a house. And when it's the right one, we'll do it. And maybe we do it. I said we can take as long as we want, but when we find the right one, we have to go really quickly. And it was actually probably better for my relationship that we got out of that deal. And there's been some other ones because they know that I am not pushing them. When we have a lot of final and bests in our marketplace. And I always tell them that you bid to your pain point. And a pain point is if somebody beats you by $1, you wouldn't have remorse because you were never going that high. And there are tricks of how do you get to the pain point without, because sometimes you don't need to be at the pain point, you can be less. And so how do you figure that out? And that's relationship building with other agents to figure it out. Do escalation clauses. There's many different ways to skin a cat. I've had one just recently where there were 19 offers. I knew you couldn't have any contingencies, so I had to waive a mortgage, whatever. But we didn't really want to waive the inspection because I tell people what could happen if you do that. And some people need to sleep at night, right? And well, we all need to sleep at night, but some people won't sleep at night if they don't have an inspection. Before the final and best offers were due, I set a scheduling appointment. I told the listing agent I was doing this, and I brought in an inspector. So we actually inspected the house before the offers were due. So my buyer knew the house was inspected. So they knew that it wasn't going to fall down, that it was the house that they were paying for. And the listing agent actually was happy too, because they ended up taking my offer out of 19 offers. And I made it easier for them to do because I'm like, we're ready for contracts. And so you got to put your thinking cap on, and all deals aren't the same. And I guess when people are trying to figure out who they want to use to buy or sell, everyone's different. This is just me. I'm a dressed down guy. Like I'll be wearing shorts many times on showings, and because that's just me. And I feel someone's not buying me because I can wear a suit. They want me because of me and the things that I bring to the table. So I'm not going to be for everyone, but for the people that choose me, love working with them. So it's been an amazing 10 years.
I jokingly tell people, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but that's okay. I'm champagne. But I show up every single day. I started falling apart, 8 years ago? So I actually have to wear tennis shoes. I can't wear heels anymore. And so I am the sneaker real estate agent. So when people meet me, that's who they get. Now, it's funny. You wrote a book, and we always joke in the real estate industry because, oh Lord, you should hear some of the stories. You actually wrote down some of the stories.
I sold this house twice, but it's great. The Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. So I actually wrote it. I try to be collaborative in things. And my son was a junior in college, and he dated someone that wanted to be a writer and be in publishing. And so she didn't have a job like last summer or 2 summers ago. So we started, and it was basically like, I'm hiring you to write my book. And then she said something about a ghostwriter. I said, whoa, if you're not going to put your name on my book, you can't write the book. Because I want to give her credit. I want her now in Amazon. Her name is a writer on LinkedIn and whatever. And so I'm like, no, you're going to do that. And actually, the book design was done by another one. My daughter's friend is a graphic artist. And so I'm like, I want you to do it. And I put her name in the book because I'm always about giving credit to people. And so we started it when Bailey Herman is my co-writer. And it was an as told to. So basically, she would record. We would get it. She would be at school or away for the summer, and then her senior year, and we would block off an hour or whatever. And I would tell. We went into the chapters, and I would tell the story. I marked up what are the different stories I want to tell, and we did that. She then wrote it, and then I'm lucky again back to the wife, who is an amazing writer, but she's also an amazing editor. And while Bailey did a great job, people say Danny speak is very confusing. No, so my wife Elise came in to edit the gobbledygook that I wrote that Bailey did. Bailey really wrote it in my voice. And what's funny is on a podcast, I had someone that was an editor and did stuff. So I tried to use him as an editor. He put the book through AI and it hacked my book up. And my wife read what was written and was like, this is junk. And so she then took the there was a there were some formatting things that the AI did that was okay. But so my wife then took Bailey's writing and then took what the AI did and merged it into, and she knows me, right? We've been now married for 30 years and I've known her for more than that, and put it into this book that actually is readable. And what's interesting is my son, who's 22 years old, writes. He was one of the people that I have in the back of the book. I have someone that's written a lot of books, and I have my wife that wrote something. But Zach, who's 22, writes, I hate real estate, but this book is actually good. And to have your son, who actually wants to be a writer, and he's in LA right now wanting to be a writer, to actually think that the book's actually good, I think is a win.
I have 4 20-year-olds, so if you can get a 20-year-old boy to read the book, that's astounding.
I guess it's easier when you hire his girlfriend to write it, but it would be bad if he didn't. But so the story is basically they're real stories. I didn't change. I think I changed one person's name because it was a little bipolar mental stuff. And I didn't want to identify what that was. And there's nuttiness in it. That name of the chapter is And Another Thing, Fatso. And the reason why that's named is she was through one of her episodes. She was actually a tenant in a place that I was living. And it's a crazy story. It's a crazy story. The owner owned a strip club in New York City years ago. And she was annoyed. Like she did some like Google searches about the guy was the nicest guy. And he owned the apartment and then he wanted to sell it and she wouldn't leave and we had to evict her. So she basically left me like 13 voicemails in a row. And one of them, in a raspy voice, she starts the message like this, and another thing, Fatso. And I've saved that voicemail, my family and my clients. I share that. And so that had to be the name. And I actually transcribed the message that she left for me in the book. So that's the only one that was like the worst one. The other ones are more uplifting stories. Some of them are hard or whatever, but I didn't have to change anyone's names. I used pictures of people. No one signed. I didn't have to have anyone sign a release or anything because it's all true. And so it's interesting for my book party. I had a book party this past summer. It was a barbecue. We catered it, 150 people. I had bartenders. We had a barbecue that was all catered. We even had to get in like the nice Kohler porta potties outside with air conditioning. So I had a book party for my clients and friends and family. And it was amazing and I signed it. So I spent the whole time like signing people's books. It was insane. But people were walking around saying, hey, I'm chapter 5. Oh, I'm chapter 10. So they were there and that was the book. They started reading their sections. It was very interesting. And so I was able to I'm able to use it kind of marketing. Like it's not great journalism, it's not Shakespeare or whatever, but it's my story or the story of me and my clients. And it is a cool thing to have. And so what you like you said, people have said to me, I've been doing this for 30 years, the stories that I could write. And I basically was like, then you should write it, write your story. And so I think writing a book, while it's fun, especially for the people in it, I think it's not horribly boring. So it's okay. But I think what it does is for me, it lets people know if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I can write a book, I can certainly sell your house. I can certainly help you buy a house because it's not easy to do it. And so I think that's more of the point of the book, right? Is that, and that when people read it, they're like, it doesn't suck. So I like that my book doesn't suck. And so it is fun having a book. People get to read it and they're interesting stories. As we have crazy things that happen to get to the closing table. And these are actual real stories of crazy things that have happened.
So why are real estate stories powerful ways to share lessons from our industry?
I don't think it's preachy, right? So I think that's one thing. A lot of people, when they write books, they say, this is a how-to book and you must do it this way. Here are the 12 steps of being successful. And, I think if people read it, it's storytelling, right? In a sense. So it's storytelling. But I think if I was why would a real estate person gain? What would they gain from reading it? I think my thought process of I'm not telling people what they need to. So that's the other thing. I'm not preaching. I'm not telling them what they should do. I'm telling them what I did. And there are examples of what I did of having to open safety boxes. I'm actually one of my clients' power of attorney has no family, and what I had to do to prevent the foreclosure and I went to court, and we basically got up in court and had oral arguments of why this 94-year-old this shouldn't happen and blah blah. And it's really advocating. So it's how I advocate for clients. It's different. It's stories along the way that I get a lot of deals that others would never do. It's not worth it for them. They couldn't get it to close. I've been able to close really hard things. You said it earlier that really, if we put our minds to it, we can do almost anything. And I think there might be one or two cases, but I have ones that are so difficult where we've had to hire private investigators to find out if there were other family members. I've gone to graves. I've gone to a cemetery with a shovel to see if the name from 1930 in an obit was a typo, or is there another line of the family? So things like that needed to be done. It needed to be done because I had to prove to title that we had that everything was correct. And crazy stuff. But so I think it is a book that clients might like and say, oh, mine wasn't that bad. So that people like that. But I think an agent will learn that that's really how you can be a successful real estate. Or it's like people come to you with problems, and how do you solutions based proactively figure out who are the right people, who can we use. I'm doing one right now where it started with one dead person, two people own the house. When this person died, it went to this person's family. But this person's family wasn't happy about that. But by looking at the deed, I'm like, I'm indifferent. I'm just telling you this is what the deed said. Then this person died, right? So now this person's family gets in, and this person's family lives in the house. And this person's family won't let us into the house. And they stop paying the mortgage. So I'm actually selling a house right now that I have no access to, two dead people, working with estate planning, right? And so how do you sell a house to someone that they can never get inside to see it? So I did it, or I'm doing it. Right? So it's those things that most people wouldn't do it. It's not that much money, but some of it is like a challenge, right? And so you do it for the challenge. And I actually, in that deal, it's interesting too, because the family of the person that I'm helping sell it they don't have money. And going to estate is called the estate formation is like 7,500. So I actually am lending the money to do the estate work so that they can sell the house. So a lot of people don't do that, and because the deal could go south at the deal. So I had to make I think I charge like an extra percent so I get paid back and I charge like an extra percent. But my risk is that if we can't get it done, they're not paying me. But you know what? You got to make a strategic decision of what makes sense, and they desperately want to sell. I'm rolling the dice on that one, but for the most part, when I've rolled the dice so far, it's turned up okay for me.
We jokingly tell ourselves that we are, instead of being at home in the Carolinas, we're actually unicorn real estate. So we do the same thing, and the stories that you tell help other clients get a hold of concepts that, like, all right, so you're from New York. We have a lot of relocators from New York, California, Michigan, and as soon as people come into Carolinas, because we are North and South Carolina, we're right on the border, kind of like the tri-state area. So you have to be licensed in all states. We're licensed in both of the states that we're in. But when people come in from different areas and we tell them we have what's called due diligence down here, and they're like, okay, I understand what due diligence is, the concept of doing your homework, doing your research, but what is due diligence in real estate? And in our state, and we do have it in both North and South Carolina, it works out a little bit different in South Carolina than it does in North. But how due diligence works is the buyer pays a fee up front that does come off of the purchase price. but it is your, as I've put it, your get out of jail fee. This is your get out of contract fee. This is, you've negotiated your termination up front for you to be able to walk away for any or no reason. Now, in 19, 20, 21, when things were getting astronomically, because we didn't have enough inventory in our market, that we had 19 offers on a home. It's not that so much now. Usually if we have multiple offers, it's under 5 at this point. But at that point, we had clients that they had 12 offers on, this is just a regular little, I think it was a 1,500 square foot home, and it was a first time home that most people would buy. This gentleman walked in and offered $20,000 in his due diligence. Now, our due diligence, we don't get it back if you walk away. You walk away, it's gone, bye. And most of the folks like in your area are like, hold on, you're telling me that you want me to pay the seller up front just to be able to walk away. And they don't grasp that concept. So when we tell the story of this gentleman paid $20,000 in due diligence to have his boss then relocate him 3 days after he got out of contract, or after he got in contract, and he didn't realize he was going to lose $20,000, his cautionary tale helps us prepare the next folks that are coming in. And that pain point that you talk about, it's like, what are you just sick enough that if you lose it, you're okay, but it makes your stomach upset? But if somebody wins the deal for $100 more or $1,000 more, you can lay at night and go, we did our very best. How do we use those tales to help teach the next folks behind us? And that's the thing that I think are ways of going the extra mile for us to be able to serve our clients, and how to get that long-term trust that we can build for people going forward.
100%.
I know you've said that you're available 18/7 because you do have to sleep. I tell my clients the same thing. I'm like, I can hold your hand at 10 o'clock at night, but nothing's going to be settled except for I can get you at least somewhat comfortable and back into bed. So what does it mean to truly care for a client more than just the deal?
Whenever someone texts me, it's an important, I generally answer right away. I don't wait till the morning. I'm like, what's the point of waiting till the morning? I'll answer when I see it and when I have the right information. So if I don't have the information, but then you still answer, you're like, I got it. Let me look into it and then I'll get back to you. A lot of it for new clients is that they're like, oh, can we see this place? Or so I always say when they send me the link or where they want to see, I'm like, okay, when? Tell me, give me what. Today, tomorrow, the next day, or whenever, on the weekend. When are you available? And then I set it up. And so or people ask me, what do you think about this house? So I get that a lot from my buyers. And then for my sellers, questions might be like, maybe somebody came to a showing at 8 o'clock at night and they didn't turn off the lights, or they disrupted something. And I gotta figure out, okay, is something missing or whatever? So I'm not going to push that. For me, I'm not going to push it off. I've had friends where I go to sporting events and they're like, why are you're in your phone? You're supposed to be here with me. I'm like, yeah, that's not my job. Isn't really like that. So I'm not always 100% in anything, but to me, I don't mind that. Even when I love golfing, and I actually am coming to Pinehurst in the spring, summer I've been there before. I'm going back to play with some friends, but even when I'm playing golf, I've done some deals on the golf course where I have to sneak away and get on the phone, because golf's 4 to 5 hours. That's where people don't know where I am, right? Because I'm always still texting. So if I'm away, or if I can be in Europe, it doesn't, the only thing, if I'm not here, the only thing I really can't do is I can't show them a house. Everything else I can still do. And so negotiating or saving a deal or whatever it needs to be. So I just try to take care of things when it happens. I've had police officers that are clients, or doctors that are working the midnight shift. So if they send me something at 1 a.m., that's because that's their lunch break. And if I'm up and I know the answer, I'll certainly always text back, I got it. I think I can get this answer tomorrow. But that's why I don't push things off. I think that's what people like about me. If you read the reviews about me, it's like he's always available. Again, I'm not the biggest, I'm not the best, but probably I always thought being newer to real estate was I didn't want to get out hustled, right? Because that I can control my own hustle. So, and what's also good is you don't need to be the biggest because I don't scale for the sake of scaling. I did 55 transactions last year, 40 million in sales, just me. And I'm also a broker, right? I lead it, not a team, but I lead my brokerage. So together the brokerage did 90 million and 150 transactions. So you're going to die, but I don't have an admin. I have someone that helps me with some social media stuff, but I like when somebody closes and a check either comes to my house or puts in my account and I'm paying. So my people, I've paid I was on an airplane the other day and I paid someone a commission while I was on the airplane, right? Because I saw that all the documents were where they needed to be. They put their check in my account and I pay them because I want to treat them like how I would want to be treated. And I don't want them to have to wait, whatever. And how many checks have bounced from closings? Zero. Zero. Because zero checks have ever bounced, why would I withhold money until it clears or whatever? It's never gonna bounce. And if it did, I figure it out, right? So I pay people immediately. So that I do that. So when the sign needs to go in the lawn, I put it in, right? There's no one to do it. I don't pay someone to do those things. When the lockbox needs to go in the door and it's my listing, I do it. But the thing is that I know everything about my deals, right? And so I don't want to push off to other people. It's interesting because now everyone's talking about AI and you can automate this and you can do that. And I'm like the opposite. I feel like there's still personal touch. I don't know I don't need to do, I guess I'm lucky because in my market, I don't have to do 300 deals. I did 55. That's a lot. But think about that. Divided by 12, it's not that much. And I can do them. I go to my closings. The only showings I don't go to are that if I'm away. And even if people tell me they're going to an open house, I try to go there when they're there. And how big do you need to be? So I don't really want to be. And I actually started my franchise because I didn't want to have to listen to a broker. I only have to do what I know is right and what's legal. Not because that's the way it's always been done or because management says we have to do it. I hate that. And we have a small group of people that also feel that way, where we don't really train. The training is they call me and we're on the phone and I look at their offers. Oh, maybe you should do it this way. So it's more collaborative like that. But in 10 years, I think I've had one office meeting in 10 years. No office meetings. I actually changed my office from the first floor to the basement. There's still, it's walkout and there is still light there because I didn't need it and we're never there. I'm like, I am never in my office. Business doesn't get done in my office. Business gets done showing houses and then at my computer.
Yeah. That's one of the things is I think those small building blocks that we do every single day is what builds trust, not only with our clients, but the people that we work with. My husband and I work together. He's the one who, unfortunately, he crawls inside my brain and tries to figure out, all right, where did D put it now? So it's that kind of thing. But when you're working with people and trying to bring them along, because I don't know about y'all's area, but here in the Carolinas, we have 25,000 realtors. Spit and you'll hit one. But just our statistics are very similar to the national statistics. If you're doing 4 deals or more a year, you're part of the 13% that do 90% of the business. That's it, 4 deals. That's all it takes. And most people don't know that. But they also don't know that most people get out. Most real estate agents end up leaving the business after 2 years. Why? Because they've sold to their mom, dad, their brother. They've sold to their family. There's nobody else to go to.
It's easy. And they also, when during COVID, when things became, everybody was buying and selling whatever. And I love school teachers and police officers and firefighters, but many, or where they're like, oh, I'm off in the summer, or I have a flexible schedule. I couldn't imagine using a part-time real estate agent, because the only way you could do it is for a listing, right? A listing you could, but then you're losing everything of the better, different, and special and relationships or whatever. But as a buyer's agent, you have to go when the buyers are, you can't just be like, I can only show at nights or weekends. You can if they're friends and family that like you and want to work with you, but you can't on normal people, right? Because you have to work on their schedule. I just got a listing where, so it's interesting when new people start coming to me and I'm like, how did you find me? They're like, oh, I used AI. I'm like, I've had 3 people say they asked AI who the best real estate agent in Westchester was, and my name was like top 3 or 4 on the list. And I'm not the biggest at all. A lot of it has to do with the rate my agent and how my things are hitting the internet, my book, the podcast, all those things are developing into ads and different things that I do. And so I'm lucky that they're coming to me that way. But one reason I'm getting a listing that we're taking pictures tomorrow, where he had it on the market for 3 months or 4 months, and it was like someone that he knew. Oh, he's a retired police officer, and the other person's is a police officer and a part-time agent. But they only did 1 open house in 3 months. To me, I would be doing 2 a weekend for the first few weekends. And that's how we get interest. And that's how I sell houses. And so he basically called me, and he just wanted that I'm full time was really he goes, I see you're top. I go, yeah, it's my job, right? This is my job. And so I wouldn't want to go to a part-time surgeon, right? Where you want a full-time doctor, right? So it's the same thing where you want an expert who's dealing with this every single day. And yes, most people do less than 4. A lot of people do it because they might be investors and then they don't want to pay a broker. So if you're a flipper, right? If you're a flipper, you're like, I'm just going to let myself in. I can do it. So that does work. One of my fairly good clients he could get a license. He has a lot of properties. He buys, he sells, he rents. And I was able to, from meeting me, I talked to him into seeing that I actually let him pay me whatever he wants on deals where I did over 10 million with him in the last like year and a half. And I'm like, he could not use me, but he chooses to use me because he sees that I have a value. And you don't take percent to the bank, you take dollars to the bank. So I don't care what the percent number is, because the deals that we do, it's enough money. And we've even joked, I helped him sell a $2.7 million condo, and we looked at what the commission was on the other side, and we were just like, oh my God. We're like, because it's not that much harder to do that than it is a $300,000 house. They're actually probably the same. Sometimes the less expensive ones are actually more work. But it doesn't incrementally get harder, because he's like, why should I pay you? I've had other people, why? Because my house is $4 million. Why should I pay you X amount? I go, yeah, that's a lot of money. So I'm being the broker. I actually got the listing because I did it at a percent that someone else wouldn't do. And I took that money, and my bank didn't know what percent I got. And it was a lot of money. And then guess what? They needed to buy a place. That was a lot more money. And guess what? I'm now selling his parents' place and buying a place for his parents. So being flexible being flexible got me probably like $80,000 of commission. I view it as smart, and I'm lucky that I think one of the thing was one of the agents wasn't allowed to take the percent because their office doesn't allow that. And I love that. I think that's unbelievable. Like for me, my agents, they are free they can do any number they want. I even have some that have done it at 0, because I have someone for a rental. They're like, it's my church owns the house and we want to rent it. Can I do it for no rental? And I'm like, yes, because it's going to be communicated to all the members of your church that you donated your time and effort to helping the church. That is a business decision. That's now led to him getting other ones that he is getting paid on. So that was a good decision. And as a broker, I I don't care. So and that was a smart decision to say, how do I help one of my agents grow his business? And that was the way to do that. So
the thing is that when you're talking to people, when we're talking to the consumer, and that's who I'm talking to, is when you're talking to the consumer, you're building a team. And most people are like, I don't buy a house every day. Yeah, you want to surround yourself with smarter people who do this every day. Not necessarily smarter than you, but
it's only smarter in our business. It's only smarter. I get what you mean by smart. You really mean a subject matter expert, because I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm creative. I am, and thankfully again for my wife to push me into real estate, because I couldn't be a doctor. I couldn't be a lawyer. There's a lot of things that I couldn't be, right? I couldn't be an athlete, but somehow I'm okay at this, right? And I guess you just said it. If you do more than 4 deals, you're already in the top 13%. I just have to be better than a few. I don't even have to be better. I just have to be good enough that when people call me, they like me and they want to work with me and they feel like I'm going to help them. And then when people, I've been starting to do my friends' children, their houses, and everyone's like, Danny has to help you, right? And so I'm going to help them. And on so I just did a deal, it was a large deal, over $1 million deal. I'd been to their wedding. I actually golfed in Scotland with the father and both of the sons. And I wanted to do something nice for them. So my gift to them was I gave $5,000 of my commission to buy down their interest rate. I wanted them to have an interest rate that was in the 6s. And because that would be the gift that keeps giving. And it was also, I got lucky. They only saw one house. I happened to be on an airplane at the time. They went into a house, the open house, but then I had to go to the house before I bid and all that other stuff. But I wanted to help them. I wanted to give them a housewarming gift. And that was, again, as the broker, I'm flexible and able to do that. And I view that as an investment in future growth. And it's also a nice thing to do. And so not everyone can do that. I'm lucky that I can do that, but I only have to be the best me.
And that's the thing, is how do we be the team that the client needs to be able to help them make the best decision for them?
Yep.
Daniel, thank you so much for your time. We have all your socials and everything, including your Rate My Agent. Don't forget that your book is on Amazon.
The soft copy book is only $9.99. This one's $29, whatever the hard copy, but it's in color. So we do like that. But yes, the book, I'm proud of it. It's fun. It's not a boring read. But thank you. It's been great to talk to you. And it's great to talk to like-minded people. And like-minded is just that we're bubbly and want to help our clients. So that's what we have in common, which is a good thing.
Going above and beyond for those that we help in our industry. And that's what we're looking for, is how to make our industry better.
Absolutely.
Daniel, thank you again so much. I so appreciate your time. And we definitely will put everything about you up. And I got to go order my book.
Yes, thank you very much.
Have a fantastic day. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on Make Yourself at Home. I hope you found insights and inspiration to help you navigate your real estate journey with confidence. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share this show with your friends, because everyone deserves to feel at home. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and keep making moves that matter.